Hi, thanks for tuning in today. Today, I'm excited to give you this review of an exegetical summary series. This particular volume is of Philippians. I own the whole thing digitally, but we'll be looking at this particular volume. I think it's easier to review a physical copy than it is a digital copy. But if you're a person who likes to deepen and enrich your Bible study, whether you know Greek, studying Greek, or wherever you're at in your journey on that, don't necessarily have to know biblical languages to profit from this series. Sort of in line with some others, like Rodman and Holman has a series like it, and also Baylor has a similar series. Well, today we're going to look at this one, and I'm going to discuss maybe just very briefly why I prefer this one over maybe a few others. If you're new to this channel, I'm Stephen Hackett, and part of what I do here is try to do reviews like this to guide people to resources that I think might help enrich their Bible study. So we're going to zoom down on the text on this one, and we'll do a review of it. Well, here it is, and I am typically a physical book guy. I really like physical books. I have to say on this one, I have gotten it digitally, and just because, well, actually, it's much cheaper to get it digitally, and especially if you get it on Logos. I've got it on Olive Tree, but especially the Logos edition of this. I've seen other people use it on Logos, and the links that it has in it, there may be some advantages to actually getting this particular series digitally. But nevertheless, I actually was able to pick this one up for like $4 or $5 on Amazon, so I couldn't pass it up. And so normally they run, I don't know, $20, $30 a volume, but I happened to catch Olive Tree had a special on it. It was $199 for the entire series, which I think is like 34 volumes, and even had a couple volumes on the Old Testament. But we'll look at the physical book, and obviously the digital format's going to mirror what you see here today. Obviously you get a preface that kind of gives you the design and layout, which we're going to look at here in just a second. And what it does, what makes this one unique, I told you I would kind of tell you why I've got a preference for this volume over the Rodman and Holman series and the Baylor series. But one of the reasons for that is this exegetical summary does not necessarily argue for any one particular position. But what it does is it will start out with a section of text, and even down to how the text is broken up as far as like paragraph markings. They call them discourse units. And what it does is it gives the various positions. So each one of these abbreviations stand for a reference work that's given here in the front. And these refer back to standard translations and to standard commentaries on the given book. This would be Philippians. But what makes this unique, as I said, is it will give kind of a brief argument for why they take the position that they do, why the different commentaries or translations take the position that they do, and then it will give you kind of a pretty good list of why or which commentaries or reference works support that notion. So just take this. Timothy was well known to the Philippians, having been in their city at least twice. And then it gives you all the commentaries and all the, well, in this case, it'd just be the commentaries that support that idea. Now, that's a simple one. And, of course, it gets, you're going to run into situations where there's more controversial ones. Now, what makes this handy for students of Greek is that when there is there's a literal translation here, so if you're working through your own translation, you can see how they've translated it literally. So that's helpful for people who don't know Greek. And for people who are learning Greek, it's also helpful. You can compare your translation to theirs. But then where it says to all the saints, it will give you like a little letter here, A. You go to A right here, and it defines that word for you based on standard lexicons and how different translations have handled it. You go to B, you can follow the B down to here, and it just kind of works its way through the text. Now, what I like about this is sometimes you run into perhaps unusual grammatical constructions, or maybe not even unusual, but just something that would leave a question. So in Philippians 1:5, for example, it works its way through the lexicon. Then it starts asking questions. What relationship is indicated by epi for? And then one position is it gives the reason for Paul's joy. That's taken by all of these commentaries. Another position is it gives the reason for Paul's thanksgiving. Then it gives you the commentaries that support that and what that would look like if you translate it that way. I thank God because of your partnership in the gospel. And then one commentator takes 1:4 to be a parenthetical insertion between the thanksgiving of 1:3 and the reason for thanksgiving here. And it lists the commentator there. So it works through, it gives you a lexicon, it defines the words, it gives you a semi-literal translation. Then it starts working through these questions that the text would bring up. And these are the sorts of questions that the commentators look at. What does this word mean in this context? What does this phrase mean in this context? Here's another example. We're in Philippians 1:6. Words are, at least one of the words are defined. And then it starts with the questions. What is the relationship indicated by the use of the participle? Then it gives another question. What does the phrase afto tuto, this very thing, refer to? And it just sort of works its way through here, really phrase by phrase. And what's neat about this is if you find something you agree with or something you don't agree with, you can consult the various other resources that take you deeper into that question. But what I like about it is sometimes when I'm working through the grammar of a passage, I want to know, this idea that I have, is it even grammatically possible to be taken this way? So it's helpful there because it gives you kind of a list of the major opinions and options that have been taken on the text without arguing for any specific text. So you can't get mad at the compiler of this work because he really tries to represent all of the major positions that are taken on every critical position that's taken just phrase by phrase throughout the entire book. So the book of Philippians is a very short book. Some Bibles, it'll cover maybe 4 or 5 pages. And here you have 252 pages of really discussion and argument. Not argument in the negative sense, but just kind of going through and weighing logically what each phrase means. So I find it incredibly helpful and really a great guide to take you even deeper into the text. What makes it different from some of these is these texts will actually argue for a specific position. So you might like that better. This is more laying out the options that are available to the interpreter and a guide to get them a little bit deeper. So this is what this is designed to do. It sort of points you in the right direction and lets you know what options are available to the interpreter, whereas these will more often argue for a position, not necessarily give you as many references to who supports what, who doesn't support what. But I find the way it breaks down, defines words, gives you parsing and things like that, I find it as valuable in that department as these, without taking a specific position, but laying out options for you. So in my opinion, for my purposes anyway, some other people are going to like other guides. Some people are going to prefer the Baylor. Some people are going to prefer the Broadbent and Holman. But I'm not necessarily interested in someone always just giving me their opinion. I want to know, can I explore this option? Where can I go to look at this a little bit deeper? And I think this one does the best job of that, of these three. So hope that review was useful to you. If you got any questions, as always, drop it down in the comment section below and let me know, have you used any one of these three? And if you have, what is your favorite? So thanks again for watching today.